I'm Pete Hotchkiss, and I'm an alcoholic. I also worked for Pavillon for 20 years, but the real thing I wanted to talk about today is gratitude, and I learned gratitude at Pavillon. I have been clean and sober since December the 6th of 1974. However, the first 11 years of my sobriety were really searching for what I was doing wrong, because I knew I was doing something wrong. I was not getting everything I wanted to out of sobriety. In April of 1986, 11 years sober, I went to Pavillon in Canada and found out exactly what I was doing wrong. They showed me exactly what I could be grateful for also. To begin with, when I went to Pavillon, I had a concept of a higher power. And that concept of a higher power was a thou shalt not God. And I knew that if I turned my will and life over to the care of that power, it would strike me celibate and send me to China as a missionary. And I didn't want to be a celibate monk in China. So the first thing that Pavillon did was they showed me exactly how I could find a power that was going to be on my side. And that power, right there when I found that power, is where my sober life truly began. I feel so fortunate in finding that power. But once I found that power at Pavillon, they went further with it. They showed me exactly how I could work these steps successfully to achieve the promises that are guaranteed us at the end of the ninth step. They showed me what my character defects were. They showed me how to find my character defects. And once I found them, I realized that there was just no reason for me to keep them. They weren't working for me. So in step 6 and 7, I got rid of them. And true sobriety, I believe, begins in step 7, where I move from my character defects to become a person that is driven by his character assets, the exact opposite. I put these into effect, and once Pavillon showed me this, and that really truly is where my true sobriety began. They showed me that I could go ahead and write a gratitude list. I had heard of gratitude lists. It seemed like every time I was anxious or afraid, I'd go to my sponsor, and my sponsor would get a little smirk on his face and say, well, write a gratitude list. And I didn't have a lot to be grateful for then. I wasn't even sure I was grateful for my sobriety, so I could never truly write a gratitude list. But what happened was when I found this higher power and I found how to do the steps, I realized that I truly was grateful for my entire past. I wrote a gratitude list, and I believe Reed's going to show y'all the form that I used. But what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and give you some examples of what I put down on the gratitude list. First thing I was grateful for was not having my past to look forward to. My contact with and direction from a higher power. The ability to love my family, my AA group, prosperity, humor, happiness, joy, and freedom. These are some of the things I was grateful for. And, I couldn't have been grateful for those things without Pavillon. And because I was grateful at that time, I was able to write these things down. I would suggest that you all go ahead and write a gratitude list yourselves right now. Because if you're here at Pavillon or you're watching this and taking time out of your life to fellowship like this, you've got to be grateful for something. And I really need to have the ability to be grateful. What has happened is I framed my gratitude list, and every time I became ungrateful, and I have in the past become ungrateful, what I've been able to do is I have been able to go back to that gratitude list and recreate the feelings I had, which get me out of depression, get me out of anger, And a lot of times, just by doing that, I get out of my character defects. Gratitude is so much a part of recovery, and once you have really found recovery and feel that gratitude, that's the time to write one of these gratitude lists, because you'll always be able to go back to it. I hope that you get from Pavillon everything that I got from it, because it has changed my life completely. And I cannot be more grateful to anything than I have been to Pavillon, and most especially to the higher power that I found at Pavillon. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Oren Wood. I've been employed for Pavillon for several years now, and I've been given an opportunity to speak about my concept of gratitude and how I learned gratitude. I went into treatment in 1992 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the first week I was there, we had a community AA meeting, and I ended up in a room with a room full of total strangers. I knew nothing about AA. I didn't know what to do, how it went. And the first thing I noticed is as they went around the table, people would introduce themselves. I'm so-and-so, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. And I'd made my mind up, well, I wasn't going to do that. Not only was I not going to tell them I was an alcoholic, but I wasn't even going to tell them my name, because they didn't need to know. I was that arrogant. And it got all the way around to me, and it got there, and the guy sitting right to my right, he said this. He said, "My name is Greg, and I'm a grateful, recovering alcoholic." And in my head, I lost it. I could not believe what that man had just said. This man is trying to tell me and the other people sitting there, he's trying to sell us that he's grateful for being an alcoholic. I considered myself a total failure, a total bum. How can you say that you're a grateful, recovering alcoholic? I thought I had sunk as low as humanly possible and ended up in a treatment center. It doesn't get any worse than that. And this guy's saying he's grateful for it. I didn't hear anything else that happened in that meeting that night. About 2 weeks later, they announced that they were going to put some of us in a van. They're going to carry us somewhere out to Charlotte and some church, and we were going to go to a speaker meeting. Well, I thought, that's cool. I'll just sit in the back, get my Diet Coke, sit back there, look around, take it cool, be pretty for everybody, and listen to whatever this guy's trying to tell us, or whoever's speaking. Well, as God would do it, guess who the speaker was that night? They introduced him. He gets up, he stands up, and he says, "My name is Greg, and I'm a grateful, recovering alcoholic." And in my mind again, I slammed him down, shut it down. I'm not listening to this mess. Who would try to sell me this? I ain't buying nothing you're trying to sell me. But immediately he said, "I'm going to tell you why I always introduce myself as a grateful alcoholic." And that got my attention. I'm going to pay attention to this. I want to hear what he's going to say. And he went on to say this, that in his life, in his alcoholic life, he had not been able to provide for his family. His wife hated him. His children feared him. He had no friends. He had no associates. He couldn't keep a job. He couldn't provide for his family. And he had no relationship with a God of his understanding. He had no spiritual nature. I thought, well, that sounds familiar. I know this guy. And then he was talking about me. But then he went on to say, in recovery, this is what I got back. I got back all that stuff. My wife now loves me. My children now respect me. I have friends. I was able to retire from a successful business. He said, but even more important, I got myself back. I got my soul back. I found peace. I found respect. I learned to be trusted. I learned to be respected. I learned about honor and decency again, integrity. He was talking about words I'd forgotten. I didn't know. I'd forgotten those words. I'd long since lost sight of those words. And I wanted them back. I wanted desperately to be that back again. And he told me I could get that back. He was the first person. That night was the first time I learned recovery's not just getting sober. That's the very simple early part. Recovery is getting yourself back, becoming that person again, learning self-respect, being a person of integrity, being a principled person, and practicing these principles in all our affairs. I didn't know that to that night. I was so taken back by that new direction that he had sent me in that I was fascinated by his story. And you talk about I wanted what he wanted, and I was so struck by his message. And that night, I learned two things that I had forgotten all about. I learned hope and I learned gratitude. Because I will tell you that since then, in my recovery, I have been able to learn to be respected again, to be trusted again, to be a man of integrity again, to learn pride again. I love the feeling knowing that I'll probably spend all day long and I won't hurt somebody or abuse somebody or manipulate somebody or tell somebody a lie. I don't have to do any of those things anymore. I got back what I had long lost and thought never would come back again, and I'm very grateful. And Pavillon has given me the opportunity to bring Greg's message after all these years to the patients here, to teach them and help them try to understand it's not about just quitting drinking or quitting drugging. It's about being better. It's about getting your soul back. And I can't be more grateful for that, because now I've learned that I have something to offer through Greg and through that message I got. I've learned that one of the ways that you find out that you're in the relapse process is to lose your sense of gratitude. I fight that every morning. Every morning I thank my God and my understanding for another day, for another chance to be a part of, maybe somehow I can help somebody turn their lives around like Greg helped me turn mine around. Am I a grateful recovering alcoholic? I remember one night I never dreamed I'd say that, but yes, sir, I am a very grateful recovering alcoholic, and I'm grateful for the chance to bring this message